I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell politicians to give up the rooms. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth.
God, it's me. Can you hear my plea? Feeling like I'm lost in this world, can't you see? Demons creeping in, trying to take control of me. But I'm just trying to find the light, trying to break free. I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. But why you keep forgetting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feeling like I'm on a leash. Can't find no peace, find no peace. Living in hell, can't you hear my plea? I'm suffocating, can't you see? Why you let these false prophets roam free? While the well-run suffer, can't you see? I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Why you keep targeting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feel like I'm on a leash, can't find no peace.
Hardest battles, strongest soldiers, greatest burden, broadest shoulders, shooting up just like these boulders. See conflict like it's water, so this mercy, take my chalice, seeking grace through all this malice. All of these salty motherfuckers could give up.
Politics and sinners, they all the same. Got me stuck in this endless game. But I won't give up, won't play the role. Gotta do what's best
for my soul.
I'm not perfect, God. Neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell these politicians to give up the room. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth. Living wild but truthfully free. God keep on watching over me. Take my pleas.
Good morning, 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 good morning. You know I always start this independent music, and this morning I got Rashad lead therapy shit too. And we'll be right back right after this.
I gotta tell y'all how I've been feeling lately, man.
Damn, see, this shit crazy.
I ain't get this beat for cheap, nah. So I'ma leave this motherfucker bleeding before I leave. Gotta let you know I love you, ain't no question you my seed. But it's consequences when you share luck finally exceeds. I've been trying to tell myself the shit I'm living, I'm at peace. But as of late, I barely sleep, and I can't help the fact I think how a mother choose a nigga, leave a baby to the streets. And if I'm really being honest, man, that motherfucker weak. I ain't tripping over nothing, I would do the shit for free. But when that nigga started talking, I'm like, fuck it, let it be. Cool. Collecting everything that's owed to me and then some. See a nigga winning, they trying to project my income. Like I ain't see it, trying to play me like I've been dumb. Stupid motherfucker, never thought that you would switch up. I ain't playing games, better know that this ain't pickup. If I'm speaking on character, it's bigger than a hiccup. I try to keep to myself, but I can't resist it. I don't know what's real anymore, and I've been dismissive. Keeping everything in my head, and shopping's addictive. Always feel like I'm missing something is missing. I don't know really. I'm just thinking out loud, how I get in this position. Hope I'm making you proud, cause I made something out of nothing, now I'm doubling down. I went from who the fuck are you, now I'm the talk of the town. But will I ever get my flowers in, so yet to be found. When I was sinking in this shit, niggas was letting me drown. So ain't no asking me for favors, cause you dead to me now. And if you see me out in public, keep your head to the ground and keeping up with me. Niggas been pressing their luck, they probably average at their best, but yet they sizing me up. Skating on thin ice, I check them, now I'm raising the cup. While I was putting in the work, niggas was holding they nuts on the block or whatever. I was just like Mike in the clutch. My intention to move with purpose, I ain't chasing the bucks. If I gotta keep it 100, man, it's deeper than luck. Ain't no overlooking the fact a lot of rappers be stuck. And if I'm speaking on potential, man, these niggas just suck. Ain't no purpose in what they making, got the youth looking dumb. Mixing the downers with the uppers, got the youth feeling numb. So I just focus on myself, cause I'm as good as they come. And it's the shit that I'm competing with. Silly. Shame on all of you niggas who'd ever think the shit. I look myself in the mirror, I gotta be legit. They think I fell off, funny they wanna see me quit. Fuck them. They invite, but I ain't slowing up. I can't be around motherfuckers, so I'm just holding up. Staying out the way, ain't no signs of me ever slowing up. And if I ever do, it's most likely because I've done enough. They don't never understand me, what I owe these motherfuckers, huh? Like really. I put my motherfucking life in this shit, bro. I put my blood, sweat, and tears in this shit, my niggas. When it's all said and done, really, like, fuck fuck I owe these motherfuckers, bro.
And that was Rashad Lee therapy shit too. I wasn't on last week at all, but I'll be most on this week. So be prepared. We get ready for that. But it's there's a lot of things to actually just talk about here in Minnesota, and I think a lot of it we have to start into what happened in the legislative session. And did things help us or they did not help us? So I think people need to get a more clear picture because a lot of people are misinformed or they're not informed at all. And it's actually time to get informed and to see what is going on around in our community and around Minnesota. Uh, but one thing that I want to get into is Fox 9 the other day had a about HCMC and how the state legislator gave them, $700 million, and how, that's actually just not going to really help. It'll help a little bit, but that's not, it's just a band aid. It's not a permanent fix. It's just something that will temporarily hold it together. But what are we going to do in the long term? What are we going to do in the long term for rural hospitals? What are we going to do for, HCMC? And I think we need to look at one thing that I really see is with Mayo Clinic. Uh, they're not asking for money. I mean, they're building. I mean, if you look around Rochester right now, you can just see uh, what they're doing for the DMC, and I even see like other cities that are getting prepared uh, for the DMC because they did put a lot of money into that. Or I should say, they're going to. Still, I mean, this is a $5 billion project. That's supposed to be primarily done by 2030. And I see people are asking, different things. Why are they building all these apartments? Why are they? Here's the one thing that I want to tell people is go get informed, go get educated, understand why you're seeing these new subsidies for housing. Look at these 2030 plans. Look at the 2030 plans that most cities do have already. They already have. And if you look at Mayo Clinic, and especially what they're trying to do with the Destination Medical Center, I know that's been the talk for like 20 years, but that is something that is actually, it's not just talk anymore. These are things that are actually going forward. So that's why you're seeing so much construction, you're seeing so much building, and not in just Rochester, but also the surrounding areas. Red Wing, Zumbrota, Pine Island, Stewartville, um, Spring Valley. You go even go out towards those areas. There's things happening in Chatfield. Anywhere around St. Charles. I mean, there's a big, big, big community around Rochester. But if we don't pay attention to what's happening or haven't been paying attention to what's going on, we're going to get lost because they're almost at the end of this plan. 2030 is almost here. It's 2026. So I want people to understand, and there's a lot at stake when it comes to the future of Minnesota. Are we going to let it be run into the ground, or are we going to try to at least put balance back in something that, to be honest, I don't know if when it comes to Minnesota flips red, right, or even Minneapolis, or I look at the other areas like Philadelphia or Chicago, who have very big black communities, uh, but have been Democratic for a very long time, and it's kind of, I won't even say it's funny because it does. I can see that people are challenged, and they see that as a challenge, and I think that's the way that people need to look at it. As in Minneapolis, is because I shouldn't even just say Minneapolis, but even the surrounding communities, is people should see this as a challenge. See this as that you want to do better. Because I can tell you right now is that a lot of legislators or senators, they're I won't say they're putting challenges but they're making posts or, you would think that Minnesota is doing so bad that people would want to step up and be involved and not just keep on letting things slide anymore, because right now is the most important time to pay attention. Pay attention to education, judicial, public safety, all that. People should be paying attention, because if you're not, you're going to get left behind. So let's get into that. Last night, Fox 9 and about HCMC.
It's a Band-Aid on a bullet hole.
New tonight, we are hearing from a former HCMC employee about what it is like inside the cash-strapped hospital. And just this month, state lawmakers struck a last-minute deal to save the safety net hospital from closure, that's at least for now.
Now, our Mike Manzoni has been covering all of HCMC's problems now for months. And Mike, this former worker told you that this latest cash infusion, and my goodness, it's $705 million. He doesn't think it's enough, right?
Yeah, and he's not alone with that. He left a couple of months ago to get ready for medical school. He spoke very highly of the emergency team there and says they are very good at their jobs, but he says he has no plans to ever return to that ER or any other one.
My job was drawing blood as a phlebotomist.
Keenan Hodge spent a little over a year in the emergency department at HCMC, helping doctors and nurses with whatever they needed.
If HCMC shuts down, we will see patient deaths.
During his time there, the dire warnings about what would happen if the safety net hospital were to close grabbed headlines. Inside, he says he and other staffers could feel the pressure.
It was a daily occurrence that we were getting, communication from management and stuff on just specific things that we needed to do to save money, whether it was not reusing a particular type of ultrasound probe. There's certainly a fear on the side of the employees that they might not have jobs, but more often than not, it's a fear, what are these patients going to do?
Beyond that, Hodge says he also took on what at times felt like more work than usual.
I've done as many as 50, 60 blood draws in a 12-hour shift, and that's a lot.
Then there were people who routinely showed up with concerns better handled at a primary care clinic.
And that's a very big strain on the system as a whole, because we're not only not as well equipped to handle a lot of those issues, but we're much more expensive.
As for Hodge, he's starting medical school later this summer, and after he graduates,
I'm not planning on working in an emergency department in the future.
And before he starts medical school, he is enlisting in the Navy as a lieutenant. He says he's thinking of maybe going into surgery. Simone, Tim?
All right, sounds good, Mike.
You're not really a Democrat anymore, and that's part of the problem. Is people think that the DFL, it's not the DFL anymore. It's the DSA. Let's be honest. When you go into Minneapolis, it's not the DFL. That's what you don't have to worry about. You have to worry about socialists. And then when you get into greater Minnesota, what I mean by greater Minnesota is like the suburbs. That's where you come in with there's still some kind of, I would say, DFL or progressives. And then when you get to the rural areas, that's where you have the Republicans. And I do feel like they don't have a footing when it comes to the Twin Cities, when it comes to Rochester, when it comes to Duluth, St. Cloud. They don't have the same kind of footing that they have in the Twin Cities. And that's just being honest. You don't see a presence by the Republicans, by the GOP. When you get into that, I would say, I don't want to say like the 10 counties in Hennepin County, but I would say at least 7 of them, they don't care. And I think that is a part of the big problem is how can you flip Minnesota red and you have no presence in a lot of the other areas. So I want to get into the crime trends uh, that we've seen in 2026 so far, and understand that it's not just, again, it's not Minneapolis and St. Paul. You have shootings going on at Mankato. There was somebody killed on Sunday night. You had two ladies were shot at Roosters and Rochester, uh, and of course we had all the I won't say, I know, because people have been talking about, been getting on me about gun violence, but I don't know any other way to call it, uh, because it happens everywhere. It's not just a Twin Cities problem anymore like it used to be. It has branched out into other areas, and I don't feel like those other areas have prepared or even uh, prevented or did any kind of prevention to be able to halt these things or even to pay attention, because I think there's a lot of people who live in, like, greater areas, and like uh I'll just say by the Iowa border, or even by, like, if you go towards lacrosse, towards lacrosse, you have that Caledonia, you got Mabel, you got Canton, Harmony. Those places are really, really, I can tell you right now, those are Republican areas. But those areas don't have the same needs or the same trauma, the same situations um, that people go through in, let's say, Rochester or even Minneapolis, because those areas are um, governed different. Every county, every city across Minnesota is different. And I think that is a really big part of the problem is we haven't became closer. We've divided even further away, because even when it comes to trans, when it comes to, uh, I think people are really going to feel it, this summer, and they're not even really. I think people are kind of like bypassing it a little bit. Oh, it's not going to happen here. We're not going to have no. I'm telling you, in southern Minnesota, they've never seen this amount of violence uh, in years, ever. I shouldn't even say years, because ever. Um, I think we're just catching up to the Twin Cities when it comes to, certain crime, property, uh, cars being jacked, stolen, assaults, rapes. Because I can tell you right now, one of the biggest, I would say, besides DWIs, um, and domestics, you know what I'm saying? I would really say that child molestation or anything to do with child porn, or trying to even, I see these people out here be like 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, and they're being arrested for talking to a cop that was either 15, 17, 13. And it's like, damn, like, when are people gonna wake up and just see that this is not just a Twin Cities problem anymore? Like, even when it comes to the drugs, it's an everywhere problem. And it might be more in certain areas, because I can tell there's people there that can deal with more shit. And what I mean by that is you don't have people in rural areas that are used to hearing gunshots at night or hearing sirens, or dealing with that kind of, type of situations, or even environments. It's totally different. The environment in North Minneapolis is not the same environment in Rochester, or because there's a lot of things that go on in Minneapolis that you see things like in Rochester, right? Uh, and I will say this, because I was somebody that would drive all the way from Rochester to Minneapolis to sell drugs, because it was a little bit easier. Police didn't fuck with you as much, but if you did get fucked with by the police, there was a lot that came with it. And you couldn't do those same things in Minneapolis that you would do in Rochester. You can speed, you can do certain things when it comes in rural areas. You know what's crazy? I see so many people. We always talk about safety around schools, right? Part of my walk that I do most mornings is I go around, during school, I go around it so I'm not in or around it or whatever. But there's a stop sign, and I see so many people just roll through it, just drive through it, roll. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not like, and it's crazy because around a kids area, and I'm glad that there's not really a lot of kids that really walk to school or whatever, because I can really tell in that area, you really do have a lot of people who, I won't say that they're bad drivers or whatever, but I see people on their phones, or one girl was trying to do her little makeup or whatever. She went to school, and it's like, damn, like, we really are so bad of a society that we don't even care what's going on around us. We only care about what's going around in our, I just don't get it. Maybe I'm just maybe wrong or whatever, but that's just how I see it. So here goes Minneapolis talking about the crime trends in 2026.
And we're taking a closer look at crime trends in Minneapolis as we approach summer, when crime in the city historically jumps as the temperatures rise. Ian Russell breaks it all down for us.
The summer sun brings us all out of our winter shell,
where a lot of people are really starting to be more visible.
But for some, summer brings worry.
It is important for us to be out there in the summer months, right? But we have to have a strategic plan around it.
For Muhammad Abdullahad of Touch Outreach, summer is historically a busy season, bringing more people outside when tempers can boil over.
Roughly around the time of March, we call that trauma season.
Touch Outreach focuses on interrupting and de-escalating crime, which makes these past several days so difficult.
It really is disheartening when you see a 16-year-old that was shot so excessively.
A 16-year-old and a man in his 40s were shot on the city's north side Thursday. That 16-year-old, identified by an online fundraiser as Cordero Montgomery Jr. And early Monday morning, police say a man was shot and killed on the south side. Data from the Minneapolis Crime Dashboard shows 20 homicides so far this year, not including Monday mornings. That's down from a peak of nearly double that a few years ago, but still one that Abdullahad says is too high.
How do we double down and invest in this more so we can see some of the decline in violence and shootings that's happening in our community? Because if not, we're going to continue to see that number rise, and it's going to be a problem.
A summer that Abdullahad says they want to be peaceful, and one that he says may be able to happen with a conversation.
We can direct some of these youth that need it to some of those systems and programs that exist out here.
In Minneapolis, Ian Russell, KARE 11 News.
Minneapolis police still investigating what led up to both shootings. At last check, no arrests have been made in either case. And we're taking a closer look at crime trends in Minneapolis.
I mean, that's something that goes on. I just want people to just be aware. It's getting nice out, it's getting warmer. So, of course, you're going to see more violence. You're going to see people try to take advantage of the situations. So all I'm going to say is people be aware of situational awareness, depending on where you're at, because certain areas are a little bit more dangerous than others. And that's not me being a whistle call or anything. That's me just being straight up real and understanding that it's 2026 and a lot of things are possible. And if we don't wake up and get out of our sleep, you're going to see shit that should be called out when it's not. Here is what they're talking about Minneapolis public schools.
New tonight, a department in a downward spiral at a crisis point. That's how a 2025 report we have obtained through a data request describes the finance department at Minneapolis Public Schools. It's a new behind-the-scenes look at a district still working to fix a budget deficit that once topped $110 million. Ben Henry joins us live to tell us what's in that report. Ben?
Kevin, we got a hold of the report while pushing and seeking for clarity surrounding a budgeting error the district recently told us about. It cost them tens of millions of dollars in state dollars. Here is where we've been putting in the work. You can see this nearly 30-page report. While plenty of it is redacted, including some page fully redacted, it still describes a dysfunctional and psychologically dangerous workplace. This is a workplace climate and culture assessment shared with Minneapolis Public Schools last summer. It was done by a law firm they hired to look into their finance division. From high turnover, poor communication, and disrespectful management, investigators highlight systemic issues impacting morale, performance, and stability. Sharing, turnover, and resulting chaos have caused a deterioration in the division's ability to serve schools. Employees telling investigators suicidal ideation or extreme physical illness have resulted from the stress of these working conditions. They also reported being scolded or ridiculed for asking questions, which investigators say leads to an inevitable pattern of errors. All of this happening in the background amid work to cut a deficit that once was as high as $110 million.
This is what accountability looks like.
Earlier this month,
it's not always pretty.
The district acknowledged a repeated error on paperwork cost them tens of millions of dollars in special education funding from the state.
We've done the hard work.
We're still working to learn exactly when that started and whether anyone has been disciplined. The district refusing to give any details at a recent news conference. For those that were responsible for making these errors, have they been held accountable?
Due to data privacy laws, we are not allowed to share any of that information.
As of January this year, the district tells us that a manager in the finance division who worked with the district since 2015 is no longer with MPS. We did ask specifically what steps they're taking to address the assessment. They only say they're working closely with members of the finance division to address the assessment's findings. Kevin.
Okay, thank you very much, Ben Henry.
Yeah, that's kind of like it seems like everywhere just has money problems, and I won't understand of like how or why. I just don't. Whoops. I wanted to. I found this as a great conversation, and I think it's something that it should be talked about, and it should be. So I'm going to play our Black News. Yesterday with they had it's been 6 years, right, since the George Floyd incident in Minneapolis, and it never is really talked about. I shouldn't even say it never really is, because that's not honestly the truth. I don't think there's certain parts that are not talked about, and there's more of a narrative that goes around George Floyd Square and not really the truth. And what is really the truth? I think that is the truth is many facets of how you want it. And it comes out differently depending on your background, depending on your perspective. But I think things came out yesterday that people knew. I think people just don't want to believe that it's true. And I think that's part of the problem is they want to see the good in everything. And I used to be one of those people. I used to see the good in a lot of shit. And now I see it as problematic, especially in our community, when it comes to certain nonprofits or when it comes to churches, even city government, even in the state, Walz's administration, we really haven't seen any type of accountability. And we could talk about Walz and Flanagan and even Jacob Frey, Jamal Osman, Andrea Jenkins. Nobody has really been accountable, but there has been a whole lot of things that have gone on in underpoverished communities. It didn't matter if it was in Minneapolis, didn't matter if it was in Rochester, Duluth, St. Cloud. Similar stories, and one thing that they do have in common is fraud, and that's a big skeleton in Minnesota's closet, and I think that's one thing that they do not want to talk about, even when it comes up to the fact of how Amy Klobuchar was railroading Black and brown young men back in early 2000s. It's just sad. And then you see people like Zanaa Muhammad or Omar Fattah, and these people endorse Amy Klobuchar. And then it's like, damn, well, I really can't expect anything different, because if they were going to be, they're not black, first of all. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the same type of fight. They don't have the same type of traumas that Black Americans do have, because they just got over here. And what I mean by they just got over here, within the last 30 years, we're talking about first generation immigrants that are now being considered elected officials. Don't matter if it comes to the school board or city council, state or house. It's just happening. And I think that's something that we need to talk about. So I'm going to play this video. This happened yesterday, where they had Mr. Edwin Reed on. And I think it's a conversation that needs to be had, not only in that around that area, but there is conversations that do need to be had.
I have receipts. If anybody wants to pay it, we paid for 2 months. And this is the first time in history that a business owner has come on and said, hey, how can I help your show and get this information out? And we appreciate it. We appreciate it. And full disclosure, I'm telling everybody, and those of you that use Restream, you know it's like $49, $99 a month. And I've been paying for it. Anthony's been pitching in every now and then, but for 13 years. Well, no, for 10 years on Restream, basically.
But see, this is Don, this is what has to happen. We have to help us. See, we have to help and support ourselves, and then we have to change this thing. We have to get up there and pull. Let's take our tiki torches out there. Let's get out there with our, and let's. But this is a good sign that we're willing to help ourselves, and that's how we get out of this thing.
Well, except for the elite, you know, you had a bunch of the normal everyday Negroes at this here so-called gala, patting each other on the back about how they ripped the damn community off, giving each other medals, gold medals, and all of this here type of stuff. Right?
Yeah,
that's basically crazy. That's what it came down. Because if it was that important, guess what? Us normal people who couldn't afford $250 would have been invited. Yeah, normal people who report, who are on the streets, who are doing the right thing, who are talking about the right things. We would have been at that gala, but because we are not in that loop, we're not in that bubble. Good morning, Miss White. We're not of that ilk. We're not that Negro.
Yeah.
We didn't get to go. So, but I just want to thank Mr. Reed very, very much for giving us this opportunity with him. And I want to get into this because I just posted something on Facebook. What out of the $90+ million that Black Lives Matter walked out of here with?
Walked out.
What did they do for the Black community, especially in the state of Minnesota? What did they do? So Mr. Reed, I think, can answer some of those questions.
Absolutely. Yep. And we're to get back into it. And let me just I forgot what I'm doing here. We're gonna start with this video. You got to watch this video. It's hilarious, not in a funny way, but just to expose the things that we have missed, that people have not told us, that the local media has decided that we don't need to tell anybody that, and so it's shameful. But we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna remove this logo so we can see the whole thing. And here, listen to this. Here we go.
All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. Today, we're taking an objective look at a totally massive, frankly complex lawsuit filed by 8 minority business owners against the city of Minneapolis and Mayor Jacob Frey. This whole thing stems directly from the aftermath of the May 2020 unrest, right after the murder of George Floyd. We're going to break down the exact claims, the timeline, and the legal framework, relying on the actual documents and transcripts filed in the case. It is a fascinating look at what happens when civil rights, municipal governance, and constitutional law just collide head-on. But, before we get completely bogged down in the heavy legal jargon, we really need to understand the environment that sparked this lawsuit in the first place. It basically boils down to one central question. What happens when a city allegedly just withdraws basic services? I'm talking police protection, emergency response. What happens when they pull that from a commercial intersection? To really grasp the legal claims these business owners are making, we first have to look at the visceral, on-the-ground reality inside what literally became known as the no-go zone. To really set the stakes here, let's look at the actual 911 transcript submitted in the lawsuit. This one is from March 15, 2024. A caller named Jessica, who is a laundromat attendant right at 3725 Chicago Avenue, is frantically telling the operator that a man has been fatally shot inside a vehicle. She's pleading for help, saying there's a woman panicking and screaming, and honestly, the most terrifying part, there's a baby in the back of the car. This just paints such an immediate, unfiltered picture of the extreme danger happening right at this specific intersection. And the chaos was just unrelenting. Literally, 2 minutes later, on that exact same day, another call comes in. This transcript captures the hysterical pleas of a woman who had just survived an attempted robbery. Her partner, a man named Aaron Del Rey, had actually been shot. When you read this, you can just feel the sheer desperation as she begs for a policeman and an ambulance, screaming for someone to help her baby daddy. Then we have a third 911 call from that exact same incident, capturing a bystander reporting the bleeding victim. But listen really closely to what he says next. He tells dispatch, "I'm certified in advanced first aid, and I would not touch that guy." Just think about that for a second. The crowd and the entire situation were so volatile that a citizen specifically trained to save lives felt way too threatened to even step up and approach the victim. That is the daily, terrifying reality these business owners say they were completely trapped in. So that harrowing context brings us to the core of what we're explaining today. A petition for writ of mandamus and complaint has officially been filed by 8 minority-owned businesses. We're talking about real people running local spots like Sincere Detailing Pros, Just Turkey, and Finish Touch. They are officially suing the city, flat out alleging that Minneapolis affirmatively created this dangerous, barricaded environment that ended up destroying their properties, taking their revenue, and ultimately ruining their livelihoods. To understand how things got to this point, we need to trace the timeline laid out in the lawsuit. So May 25th, 2020, George Floyd is murdered. Shortly after that, on June 2nd, the city, under Mayor Frey, puts up these massive concrete barricades around the intersection, completely blocking traffic. Now, the plaintiffs allege the city promised to reopen the area by August 17th, but then totally broke that promise. They even ignored a September survey where, get this, 65% of respondents said they wanted the intersection reopened. Instead, those barricades stayed up for over a year, finally coming down on June 3rd, 2021. The lawsuit points out this massive, glaring disconnect between the city's narrative and what the plaintiffs actually experienced. The city's stated goal for the barricades, to create space for a memorial and facilitate community healing. Sounds reasonable, right? But the plaintiffs say the ground reality was a completely different story. They claim those barricades essentially enabled a totally autonomous zone. They allege civilian occupiers acted as barricade protectors, aggressively questioning visitors, slapping residents-only signs on things to turn customers away, and forcing people to park in back alleys. It completely suffocated the local businesses. And the plaintiffs brought receipts. They used some seriously striking data to back up these claims of a no-go zone. According to the complaint, if you look at May to November 2020, violent crime citywide rose by about 34%. But in Ward 8, which is exactly where these barricaded businesses are, violent crime absolutely skyrocketed by 122%. The plaintiffs argue, look, this wasn't just some random coincidence. It was the direct result of the city's policies. But wait, it gets even more staggering. According to the complaint, former police chief Medaria Arredondo actually told the news media that ShotSpotter technology, the system that detects gunfire, registered a mind-boggling 2,500% increase in gunshots at this specific intersection from 2019 to 2020. The area literally went from 33 detected firearm rounds to 700. Just let that sink in. Behind all those crazy statistics, though, is a very real, very severe human toll. Business owners reported finding dead bodies right outside their storefronts while watching their property values just freefall. Willie Frazier, who runs Finish Touch Co., says he witnessed armed robberies and even had his own car stolen in broad daylight. But honestly, the most shocking incident involves Ralph Williams, the owner of a local barber lounge. He was actually shot through both legs. The lawsuit states that because emergency services flat out refused to enter the zone, he had to drive himself to the hospital, bleeding from bullet wounds in both legs. Unsurprisingly, many of these owners report developing severe PTSD, depression, and anxiety from all this. Which brings us to Edwin Reed. He's a former CFL player and the owner of Sincere Detailing Pros. He ended up losing all his commercial dealership contracts because the barricaded area just became totally uninsurable. In this deeply personal letter to Mayor Frey, Reed wrote, "I witnessed 6 murders. I made multiple calls to 911 only to be told that officers could not come into what was considered a war zone. The extreme, non-stop stress of trying to operate in that environment took such a huge physical toll on Reed that he literally developed an enlarged heart, measuring 4.3 centimeters. Section 2, the legal framework, suing for accountability. So, we've seen the totally devastating reality on the ground. Now, how exactly are these businesses trying to hold the city accountable? Well, it hinges on this specific legal tool, the writ of mandamus. Now, this isn't just them asking for a payout. A writ of mandamus is this extraordinary court order that actually compels a government official or body to do their job, to perform a mandatory legal duty that they failed to execute. So the business owners are petitioning the court to use this writ to literally force the city of Minneapolis to formally recognize the immense damage they caused. And that ties perfectly into our next big concept, inverse condemnation. Okay, so normally, under regular eminent domain, the government takes your land for public use, right? And they pay you for it. But inverse condemnation is kind of the flip side. It happens when the government heavily damages your property or completely blocks your access to it without formally taking it, which essentially forces you to sue them to get just compensation. The lawsuit claims that by putting up those barricades and allowing this autonomous zone to flourish, the city effectively took the business's property rights without paying them a single dime. The plaintiffs are also going after a mandamus for police protection. The lawsuit points straight to the Minneapolis City Charter, specifically Title 9, Section 171.33 Zoo, which legally obligates the police to enforce laws and arrest violators. The plaintiffs are alleging the city made a deliberate, conscious choice to withdraw this mandatory protection, specifically from their barricaded area, basically throwing them to the wolves and leaving them to fend for themselves. On top of that, the lawsuit outlines some incredibly severe discrimination claims under the Minnesota Human Rights Act. The plaintiffs argue that while the city maintained normal police protection in surrounding non-minority areas, they deliberately withdrew public services from these specific businesses. And because these plaintiffs are African American, female, and LGBTQ business owners, they are formally alleging that this targeted abandonment actually constitutes race, sex, and sexual orientation discrimination. There's another genuinely fascinating legal argument buried in the complaint, Count X, vicarious liability. The plaintiffs are arguing that the city of Minneapolis is vicariously liable for their financial ruin. Why? Because Officer Derek Chauvin was acting as an official employee and agent of the city when he committed the murder that sparked the unrest in the first place. So their argument is that the city should be held financially responsible for the resulting economic devastation to the surrounding properties. If they actually win on this point, it could radically shift how cities nationwide are held liable for the actions of their police officers. When we look at the financials of all this, the contrast is honestly pretty stark. The city has been very publicly touting its equity pledges, highlighting $1.5 million in forgivable loans, $150,000 for artists and healers, and another $182,000 for undoing racism training. But the plaintiffs are crying foul. They claim this is all just smoke and mirrors. They argue that while millions were supposedly pledged, the actual tax-paying businesses on the ground were left bankrupt. They say they received vastly inadequate relief, or in some cases, absolutely zero help to compensate for the total destruction of their businesses. And this frustration didn't just stay local, it reached the federal level. In a January 2026 letter sent straight to the U.S. House Oversight Committee, Edwin Reed demanded a formal investigation. He wrote, "While long-standing, tax-paying businesses like mine were denied meaningful relief, millions of dollars in recovery funds were funneled into unqualified nonprofits." Reed is actively pushing Congress to investigate both Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Frey, alleging that these crucial recovery funds were essentially misappropriated to politically aligned groups instead of going to the actual riot victims who lost everything. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly complex question, one that the courts are now going to have to answer. Does a city actually owe its citizens protection and compensation when its own municipal policies, like throwing up barricades and allegedly ordering police to stand down, result in the complete destruction of their livelihoods? When a neighborhood officially becomes a no-row zone, who ultimately pays the price? This is a massive legal battle that could completely redefine municipal liability in America, and we are absolutely going to be watching how it all unfolds.
So, that video kind of explains it. And we'd like to bring in Mr. Reed, Edwin Reed here, business owner from Sincere Detailing. And there's been no media outlets except us to even put this out in detail like this and use that video to explain it. But, you know, the modern technology we have now makes that feasible. Edwin, welcome to our show. What's going on, man?
Well, I want to explain it. If you got a moment, I want to break it down from the video and everything, so your viewers can understand exactly what's going on. Our city of Minneapolis, someone called in a favor on the businesses. We have two conjoint cases. One is Cup Foods case because they lost revenue, and one are the 8 businesses, including me and all the other petitioners on this case. Someone called in a favor for them to throw our cases out, to run our lawyers scared to deal with this matter. There was a judge called Edward Wall who took up Cup Foods case. There was actually 5 judges on the court docket that viewed our case to be nosy, to have an opinion. They walked off because it was they labeled it as a complex case. And then Laura Thomas, who was our judge, had both of the cases. But when Cup Foods case came up, Edward Wall booted her out of the way, took Cup Foods case, threw it out in 14 days, and sat on it for a 90-day decision, and then presented the case after 90 days. When I went to the appeals court for Cup Foods, because the cases are totally different, there's different additives in each case. The appellant court judges affirmed Judge Wall's decision to toss the case out. Now, keep in mind, there's 7 different things that it even mentioned in the video, 7 different laws that they broke that we can prove. We have everything to prove what they did to us because I documented everything over the course of time. And at that particular time, I couldn't speak because the gangs would have killed you. And it was a lot of criminal activity going down there, and they were robbing the people who were coming to visit the memorial. The gangs were. And when people found out that they were the ones being robbed, they stopped coming to the area, and word got out around the whole city that that area was a no-go zone, and officers couldn't aid anyone up there. So visitors stopped coming. As you've seen, they were redirecting people if they showed up. So they were doing that to our customers, and just it was just there was 26 murders in that intersection a year after George Floyd's death. I saw 6 people get killed. Some of the killers are still running the streets, still to this day, because it was a lawless area. You can literally get killed up there, and no one's coming to get you. Ambulance is not coming in to save you, and that's a constitutional right that was broken for the businesses and the taxpayers there. If we call for 911 and you guys tell us on the phone that you can't aid us, I mean, like, keep in mind, this is a community and business owners calling 911 when this took place. And so the city, someone called in a favor from either Tim Walt's office or Mayor Fry to throw our cases to the sand. And they don't want to honor our rights. And Capitol Hill versus Seattle, this happened, this autonomous zone formed in Capitol Hill, Seattle, where the same thing happened to us, but only George Floyd died 50 feet from where my business is. And not only that, it was much worse. No one in this city endured what these business owners endured because they turned on us and tried to extort us after visitors stopped coming. So Ralph, barber shop guy, he got shot in his legs, had to remove a testicle, had to drive himself to the hospital because they specifically told us by phone. They either didn't answer because they heard the call come from that area, or they answered and said, we have a gang task force officer, when they told me me and my client was doing business, and we saw someone get shot at 8:30 in the morning. This gentleman died on the side of 40th and Elliott. I called 911. 911 told me specifically We don't have officers for that area. They're not allowed to come there, but we do have an officer who is taking care of that area. His name was Christopher Double. Now, Christopher Double, he was involved on the no-knock warrant killing of Amir Locke. And also, he was involved in the shooting with the other gentleman who got shot in the eye with a rubber bullet. So, Arredondo, Mayor Jacob Fry, that officer, and Andrea Jenkins is all involved on our case for testimony if we ever go to a trial. And they're trying to protect these people. So they're trying to throw our case out so they can't take the stand. And it's criminal what they're doing to us because we can prove everything that we're saying. They're trying to throw our case out on 2 things that they want to throw out, but there's 5 other things that are left in the case.
Yeah, Mr. Reed, so our viewers understand exactly what happened. That autonomous zone in Seattle, where all those businesses were shut down, the city of Seattle settled with them, even though George Floyd did not die there. He died on 38th in Chicago.
Absolutely.
But the protest was around. And if you look around the city, around the United States, a lot of those areas where there was protest behind what happened on 38th in Chicago, these businesses have been taken care of. There's forgivable loans. Why isn't the city of Minneapolis, the state, why are they giving so much money to these nonprofits and not to the businesses?
Well, see, we knew it was bad, but we didn't know it was this bad as this brother is telling us, who has lived through that. See, I live in the neighborhood. And see, my brother, he's a retired teacher, coach. Don, know my brother, but he does hauling. And he has little guys in the area that help him. And he hears all this. Oh man, we get off work. Let's go up to George Floyd Square and get our stuff, man. We got to go up there. They got everything you want up at George Floyd Square. Just go on up there. So that has been going on since day one. And the fact that they don't allow the police there, for one, is terrible. But brother, I did not know, and I live around there, and I know it's bad, but I didn't know it was that bad.
Well, the city's playing damage control right now. They keep on saying that it's safe in the city because of this lawsuit came about. Because 444 officers, I'm going to tell you this tale, 444 officers left the force 2 years after George Floyd's death. The city gave them $22 million because they were going to sue the city, and it would probably have been about $1 billion lawsuit for all those officers because they were being investigated by the DOJ. Now, everything that I'm telling you out of my mouth, you can fact check. There's an article for everything that I'm saying. And so when those officers left the force, it created a lawless area.
Now, people maybe don't remember this, but the city of Minneapolis did settle with protesters, right? They settled with 12 people. It was $60 each per person. You had Jonathan Mason, you had Nakima and her husband. These are people that were paid for the protest actually that happened. So when people say that the city of Minneapolis has paid, and people have to understand that we were screwed over, not only just by BLM, these so-called wannabe violence interruption groups, whatever, right? We were played by the city of Minneapolis, not only just the city, but Jacob Frey, the former chief Arredondo. Everybody was played all for a narrative to make it seem like Derek Chauvin. I shouldn't even say that, right? Because I do have some, like, Derek should be locked behind bars because there was Zoya Cole, there was Jonathan Pope, there were so many other victims, right, for the same exact move that he did on George Floyd that people really honestly don't talk about. And I really thought about this when Edwin, when this whole podcast episode was on yesterday. I was thinking like, damn, there was really so much that never came out during trial. That's always been kind of, I would say, blocked from getting out. And we can even talk about all the fraud that went along with it, because COVID, this is the thing that people don't understand is COVID plus George Floyd set our nation up for times that we have never ever experienced, where you had not only an epidemic when it came to COVID, but people were mad. People were in an uproar about police brutality. And I think maybe because there was unemployment, you had PPP loans. It was people were paid literally to protest. And we're still seeing that. You're seeing people get paid 6 figures for saying that they work for organizations taking care of the homeless, or taking care of the needy and hungry, taking care of people that are looking for housing. And the whole time we're just being screwed over by the so-called people that were saying they were looking out for us, that were saying they were looking out for the little guy. But the only thing they were looking out for was themselves. And that is the sad thing that nobody really wants to have a conversation about. And we really do, I feel like, need to have a conversation open and honest, because a lot of things did go on during George Floyd, Dante Wright, Dalal Aid. There was a lot of things that were going on that the public, that people, everyday people were not being told. And I can just say this, that there was a lot of money that was being passed around and not to the residents of that area, because people have got away with millions. You've had union leaders, you've had politicians, everybody's getting paid off this shit. But the people that live in that community, make it make sense to me, because it doesn't. It doesn't make sense to me how George Floyd Square got all this money to make the square look like a memorial or something different, right? And it really hasn't been. We've all been bamboozled. We've been lied to. We've been pulled along. That's because you have so many leaders who are getting paid by it. Didn't matter if it was Lisa Clemens, didn't matter if it was Agape, didn't matter if it was We Push for Peace, Touch Outreach, Minnesota Freedom Fighters. You know, there was so much bullshit that went on that people just honestly don't want to have a conversation about. And a conversation about this shit needs to be had, because that's why I feel like there's no unity. Because first of all, people aren't taking accountability, and we're sure not seeing any type of responsibility. Hold on. I don't know why it's not. Let's stop sharing. Yeah, I don't know why it's all of a sudden it did that. There we go. Here we go.
Also turned around and did an article with the Star Tribune saying we're over budgeted $20 million with the city of Minneapolis Police Department, and they already know where that money went. They gave that money to those officers, because if they were got in trouble for the bad practices, because the DOJ ran an investigation on all police precincts, those officers would have lost their retirement rightfully for their dirty crimes and their dirty doings that they were doing. And so they did that to protect them, but told the businesses. Now, keep in mind, I spoke to Johan Omar at the DFL convention. Johan Omar said, well, we gave money from the federal to you guys. And I told her, yeah, you might have gave money from the federal, but you knew the nonprofit companies were the ones that were supposed to receive this money. And they took that money and falsified documentation. And that's why you see all of these busts of the preachers and the pastors, and all the nonviolent prevention programs are being busted, because they falsified application to get this money from our area. There was probably $600 million advocated to our area for the businesses, but when you were an LLC, they turned you down. Now, I want to give you a specific demographic of what I'm saying. The first grant that they gave, sir, was called the Can Do Grant. The Can Do Grant turned into the Deed Grant. The Deed Grant turned into the Promise Grant. And then the Promise Grant turned into the Mead Grant. Now, these grants are all the same grants that were given by Bobby Joe Champion. Now, Bobby Joe Champion, for some reason,
here we go,
didn't do any oversight on these particular grants that they gave, and the daycare centers are all down the street from us that got caught through the Feeding of the Future. So they robbed every grant from us in that area, and I have paperwork supporting this because they turned me down. And so the city got upset saying, well, that's probably why they sued us, because they didn't get any grant money. That ain't why we sued you guys. The grant, the reason why they're trying to protect this case and get it thrown out is because it pinpoints the fraud that took place. That's why it's so important to throw it out, because the fraud was pointed in. And now keep in mind, I want to let all your viewers know, Nick Shirley followed me from the New York Post when I told George Floyd's aunt. I was arguing with her in the street because they threw a workshop for these grants and for these businesses to learn how to get these grants. I went to every workshop, and all of these people from all these different areas, Shakopee, Burnsville, Lakeville, they came to take that grant money from the specific areas that it stated that the grant for, and that was the 30 days of Chicago.
I don't want to interrupt you because everything you're saying, but I just want to say this because you mentioned a name. If the Republican Party had any type of power when they had Bobby Joe in the hot seat, things would have been different, but they didn't have no power. So a lot of what you're saying could not come out in the committee that the Republicans had when they had Bobby Joe in the hot seat. A lot of this stuff would have came out then. And that's why I kept saying a long time ago, it's not going to come out because the Republicans have no power to put any pressure on Bobby Joe to tell the damn truth about all of this money that's going around here.
But
that's why we didn't find out about it.
They know this shit.
Yes,
it's
sir.
not that they don't know it. They know this shit. They know about Bobby Champion. They know that's what this brother is telling them. They know it. They know every bit of what he's saying.
Finally got somebody. Look. The bottom line comes down to this here. We all know that black folks have been living off our own misery.
Right.
There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But here's the deal. We could not actually prove it. And because we couldn't prove it, it's just like the lady who's up there right now. The lady who's up there right now. That woman has gotten rich off of keeping them barriers up there. That's why I sit there and say, Mayor Fry, the only reason he is the mayor right now is because socialists wanted to take over the city of Minneapolis. If we didn't have a socialist running against Mayor Fry, I would not have got all the black churches together to put him back in the office. He would have been gone, and we would have had somebody who would have went after all of them, who would have sent down a bulldozer, sent down the street sweepers, and cleaned up George Floyd Square today.
But we almost had Fatah. We almost had Fatah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
What would have happened there? What would have happened there?
Tay knows what happened. Johan Omar knows what happened.
Exactly.
They all were in cahoots.
All of them.
Of course.
All of them.
And they're scared of me. When they see me, all of them run. They know I know. I documented it.
All of them.
All of them run.
And if
They
JD
Vance
Vance come here and he does his job, if JD Vance come to Minnesota and don't screw around like they did before, then we may have something going on.
Bro,
I
that's
wrote
a
a
big
letter to
hit.
JD
That's
Vance.
a big hit.
JD Vance emailed me. I have an email from JD Vance. During the Annunciation shooting, he came here. I tried to meet with him to tell him about what happened, and I wanted to walk him and Donald Trump around George Floyd Square and show them how they ruined our city. They're trying to blame it on ICE now.
So ICE ain't got nothing to do with that.
Did all of this.
Yeah.
And
ICE
then
got nothing to do with that.
go and sue ICE because they try to blame the foundation of the loss of all small business and mom pop places. It was the riots and the $2 billion destabilization that did this to all the businesses. And they're up here touching base with all these businesses, trying to soothe them and make them feel good. Like, that's not what happened. What happened was when those riots took place, those officers left the force. They couldn't supply enough officers to patrol this city. Okay? All those businesses were lost due to the city's actions. And I'm letting everybody know right now. That's what happened.
Ilhan Omar, the Ellison boy, all of them Jenkins, they all went up to Powderhorn after they said, defund the police. Defund the police.
Yes.
These folks ran up here from Chicago. They walked up here. They was coming here. They would crawl their way to get up here.
Yeah.
We didn't have no police up here.
Yep.
All because these fools, they're all part of this thing.
I wrote this book, Depression, and I've developed sleep somnia, and I haven't had adequate rest in years because people were trying to break in my shop. They were upset with me that I was just trying to keep my business afloat. None of us was in the street screaming Black Lives Matter. None of the business owners were protesting or any sort. We were just trying to stay safe and keep our businesses running. So I wrote this book called Hush Hush MPLS, Order to Despise, because I documented everything. And let me tell you, there was a military here, and Governor Walz didn't tell anybody this. He blocked and barricaded off all the freeways and put a curfew out because there was a military up here that were casing all the minority business areas. So this is what they did. The first night, they looted it. The second night, they came and burned down everything to get rid of evidence. That military group came here. I saw them with my own eyes, and the pictures of them are in this book. I took pictures of them. Okay, that's why this book is so important to the American people, because it talks about the fraud before it even happened.
They get it to wall.
So they're scared of me, and I've had threats from the Democratic Party, call my phone and threaten me, my business line, and I'm not scared whatsoever because I'm only telling the truth. It's my duty to tell the truth to the American people because I kept my mouth shut and I watched all of it. The first lie that the city told, sir, was we didn't put the barricades up there. I took pictures and seen them bringing the barricades. Those barricades are about 6,000 to 8,000 pounds a piece.
Right.
Yeah. They brought them in.
Once that lawsuit hit, everything started unraveling. And see, what the city do is when they got a criminal, they don't give a criminal a chance when they want to throw the criminal in jail, but they're the criminals now. And we're the ones that got evidence against you guys. And then they sit here and say, well, we got a strong case. You don't have a strong case. We gave you guys action. We gave you guys all the evidence about what you guys did to us. And they're riding off of that. And so what they did was someone, and my lawyer, I love him to death. He's scared to tell all of us the truth that someone called in a favor to throw our cases out. And it's unfair because they're undermining the law. And as you watch that video will tell you what laws they broke. We lost property value. All of our insurance companies dumped us because they thought that the buildings were going to get burned down. They dumped us. And so any incidentals that we had to take care of that happened with our customers in their cars, we had to pay out of pocket if that happened. And then not only that, they bled us out, and they purposely bled us out so they could take over the neighborhood. And basically, I'm going to read to you what this book was saying. In the aftermath of George Floyd's tragic death, Minneapolis teeters on the brink of profound change. But beneath the surface of promised reform, a darker narrative unfolds. Hush Hush MPLS, Orders to Despise, unveils a chilling conspiracy and a calculated scheme by the city's officials to exploit the city's grief and capitalize on the ensuing chaos. This gripping exposes meticulously documents on how seemingly benevolent incentives mask a ruthless land grab, systematically depressing communities, Prepare to be shocked as the author lays the bare truth, revealing the truth cost of progress in a city grappling with its darkest demons. This book speaks about drastic acts of Americans' ruling class to systematically cheat and dismantle the efforts of hardworking Black Americans to create generational wealth. Reed demonstrates through this epic story of survival during the George Floyd riots how the system still undervalues the vibrant contributions of Black Americans. And what I mean by that is, we are all legit tax-paying businesses. Those businesses in Seattle, they were white.
Right.
And keep in mind, did nobody stand up for us? Okay? I've been sitting here screaming at the top of my lungs to get help for our businesses. And no one came for our aid. We were treated wrong. We never did anything wrong. But why are we being treated this way versus those other white businesses in Seattle? And George Floyd didn't even die there. He died where we were. And the reason why is because the city is trying to protect a wrongful death lawsuit for the 26 victims that got killed there, and the ambulance couldn't come and aid them. The gentleman on my company's anniversary last year, he got shot in the head twice in front of his 2 kids who were infants in the back of the car. His girlfriend ran up the curb, damaged her car to get help. I came out there and tried to aid this gentleman. He was dead. Now, this is what they said in the Star Tribune. They basically said that this man, they resuscitated this man, and they brought him back to life, which is a damn lie. This man died the day I seen him. They're saying he lived to the 25th of March. He got shot on March 15th, okay? This man was gone. And we called 911. They wouldn't even answer the phone for the first 30 minutes because they knew it was from that area. And so it killed all of our business because when people find out that police are not patrolling that area, it automatically makes them feel unsafe. Those barricades were out there in the streets for 3.5 years. Not one. See, they're combating our lawsuit with lies, saying that because they can do that.
We all saw it. We all saw it.
Yeah, we saw it. We saw it.
It's not like it's not like we did not see it. Miss White asked a question about who has the power. Well, the Democrats have the power to shut this all down, Miss White. That's who has the power. Nobody. And if Donald Trump was really wanted to be president, as he say he is, Donald Trump would come here himself and make them tell the truth. We'll make them tell the truth because we still haven't heard. I mean, we're hearing half the truth right now.
I wrote a letter to
Governor Walz, the mayor, right? Both of them, they know the truth. They know. All of them activists that's down there in George Floyd Square right now, the reason they're holding that place hostage, I've always said that. They are holding a community hostage because they're being paid by the mayor of Minneapolis. Again, let me repeat.
They can sell their dope and stuff there and do all their devilment there.
That's right.
Yep, exactly.
Hostage.
I wasn't aware of this. Now, Agape, they were the first nonviolence prevention program in the state. Now, let me read this to you because I got documentation and I got proof of what I'm saying. Now, this is what Mayor Fry did. Before they were even a business, Mayor Fry took COVID funds to give $1.5 million to Agape Movement because officers wasn't going to come and aid that avenue. They needed them to patrol that avenue because officers were scared to get killed over there because every time they go over there, someone's protesting to want to harm them because of the death of George Floyd. That's not our fault. That's not our responsibility, okay? But I want to read this to you guys. It's very quick. It says $359,000 security contract in June of 2021. The organization Agape Movement is a central neighborhood group that employs ex-gang members as violent interrupters. The $359,000 contract was awarded to the to monitor security and protect city workers as they remove the street barricades at George Floyd Square, 38th Street in Chicago. the backlash. Minneapolis City Council members vocally opposed the move, arguing that Mayor Fry overstepped his emergency powers to bypass standard City Council approval. Now, that right there tells you Mayor Fry has the power to fix this, whether City Council is involved or not. He chose not to help our businesses because he doesn't give a damn.
That's right.
Last year, it was May 24th, I met with him last year at the Black Business Fair. And notice, anytime they come there, they never bring cameras because it's never genuine. They don't want to show nothing genuine to these black people. But they roll out the red carpet for the Somali community and gave them all the money and gave them all the power to fix their businesses because Lake Street is a prime location that runs in and out the city. I've been here since 1984. It's divided in 7 counties. They can't tell me nothing. I've been here since 1984. You can't fool me. I know what you guys did. You gave them all the money and you used them as fake voters because they were voters that are not even certified as Americans.
That's right.
They're not citizens.
They gave them all IDs.
If you're
it's
not,
what they did.
If you're not bringing 50,000 voters, you will not get help.
Right.
That's why that money never came to us. It went to the nonprofit companies because they give it to them every year so that the politicians can get money for their campaigns. That's where the biggest fraud is. They know about it. That's why Amy Klobuchar is so interested in becoming the governor when she makes more money in Washington because she wants to keep the people in place because that money, since Rudy Perpich was governor, and they got greedy. They got greedy once that big pack came through, the unrest pack came through. It was about almost $500 million or more.
Arnie Carlson.
The unrest businesses who lost out. They took
let's go all the way back. Let's go all the way back to Arnie Carlson. That's when it started getting crazy.
Yeah.
Every culture, every group that has been resettled here in the state of Minnesota uses the same blueprint of how to get money for the Catholic Church, for the Lutheran Church who brings these people over here. What the problem happened was Amy Bach and the Somalian community, they got greedy. If they would have stuck to the blueprint, we would have never known. Because every other group that they brought over here uses the same blueprint. You hear these people all the way talking about, right? Well, look at black people. Why black people can't do this and black people can't do this here? Because we're not getting the money these other cultures are getting when they come into this area.
Don't vote.
Asians get money. They buy in the black community. The Somalians get money. They buy in this. The Hmongs get money. All of them has used this blueprint. Absolutely. If you give the black people the same blueprint you gave everybody else, we would be doing the same thing. We would be out in Lakeville buying houses. We will be out buying business out in making business in Maple Bow. We will be out in Coon Rapids with our kids having a school. But we were never put under the same blueprint of all of this money. The Somalis got greedy. That's exactly what happened.
Absolutely. Amy Bach training. Amy Bach was training the Somalis how to run shell companies to get this.
That's right.
And get that money.
That's right.
The campaigns. That's what that was about.
They got rich. They got rich. But see, there's another side of this too. And again, I always say this on this show. I'm not even upset with the Somali community for all the money I get. I got. I didn't get none of it. Anyway, I do need some of that. Anyway, but the people from Minnesota Department of Education, Minnesota Department of Health and Human Services, the City of Minneapolis Department of Health, and those other gang prevention BS groups, and all those people inside those organizations that thought it was okay to give this group $6.5 million, to give this other group $3.5 million, to give this group over here $3.5 million, and then not check on anything for 2 or 3 years. And then all of a sudden, oh, wait. he mistakenly used $6.5 million. You shouldn't have gave it to him in the first place. You maybe shouldn't have gave Zion Baptist Church $1, $2, $3 million, unless you really knew they could carry out the mission.
But Don, you're hitting it right on the head. Because when we grew up, we used to say, if you see a fool, bump his head. And that's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing.
And so all these entities in the Black community, not just the Somali community, but the Black community too, we have to go back and turn our focus to these agencies.
Yeah.
Let's find out who's back, who's in them, who's making the decisions, what their political alignments are, who they're friends with politically, and who's giving them the marching orders. Now, I know the marching orders for the Minneapolis Foundation. They had a guided giving group.
Right.
Especially for the Black community.
Right.
Like, okay, Anthony, we want, and this, our Black News wants $25,000 to broadcast 3 times a week for 6 months, which isn't enough. That's a drop in the bucket, a penny. It's beneath us, actually. They got this guided group of Negroes, HNICs, as I call them, that will make a decision and say, well, we don't know if they should get that. Or, yes, we should get that. You have executive branch organizations within the state of Minnesota that are just giving away money to their friends.
Right.
So when you look at 38th in Chicago, when you look at the transition from Wilhelm's Drug into Cup Foods, into the 7-Eleven being there first, it was a 7-Eleven first, a store and a gas station. There was a restaurant there on that corner. The Dairy Queen down the street was probably one of the busiest Dairy Queens in the state of Minnesota, just because of the kids across the street at the elementary school.
Right.
That area has flipped, dropped, and just did things that should never happen. And I think that the city needs to go in, the state needs to go in and reverse it and open up 38th in Chicago and make it a business node. Make it look like 48th or 46, 48th in Chicago down there. You know, this is a theater. I mean, you could make it look, put a roundabout in there, do something, but open it up because it's not benefiting. Why do we have to live in the ghetto on 38th in Chicago?
I just have to ask Mr. Reed a question. And this is the thing. I don't know what he's going to think about this. Cup Foods. To me, I've lived in this area. I mean, I'm 75 years old. I've lived in the south side of Minneapolis my whole life. Cup Foods, they seem to me have been problematic. I mean, I don't know that that's something that people have always felt comfortable going in, and the community that they had, the quality. I don't know. But what effect, is there anything you want to say to me about specifically?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been knowing their family since 1985. My mother was Alberta Knight. She worked at Butler Drugs with Tom, who ran the pharmacy. And Sam, they are legit business owners. Now, what made them get that bad rap is because the gangs used to hang out in front of their door, doing all the crime. Them guys are legit people. I know them well, and I wouldn't sit here and play a game. And they got the blame on them because, keep in mind, there's 2 things you can do when someone does a criminal act in your store. You can tell them to leave, or you can call the cops. None of the elderly were there when the cops got called on George Floyd. They leave at 5:30, all the adults. They come in from 9 a.m. to 5:30, and then they have their family members learn how to run the store. And they called the cops on George Floyd for the $20 bill. Now, you keep in mind, of course, if you're doing well in a Black community, people are going to hate on you and people are going to say things about you. Those people are legit business owners. Everything that they own and everything they had, they did it legitly. And I know that from my heart. I wouldn't make this up. And people could say all they want about that family, that they're Arabian and all that. But you know how it is. When you're owning things and you're progressing, you're growing, you're doing certain things, people have a different perspective on how they look at you because they feel that you're not helping who and you're not helping there. But see, it's not their job to help anyone if they don't want to. But I will tell you this. They did offer to pay for George Floyd's funeral Floyd Mayweather paid for it, but they did offer. But they were so scared to show their face because they were receiving death threats from all across this country.
I don't understand why Black Lives Matter didn't pay for it with all the money they walked out of here with.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I want to tell you about Black Lives Matter. They never came over there, not one time. Did I not see them over there? They didn't protest over there, not one time at East 38th Street. Not one time did I see Black Lives Matter. Now, I want to break down.
The local Black Lives Matter was there, right?
I never saw them. I was out there right in front of that place. I never seen Black Lives Matter out there.
Yeah, Chantel Allen. I mean, I was there when Chantel Allen, when Todd Granger of St. Paul, Black Lives Matter. I was there when they was there.
Okay,
so I can vouch for them.
Most of the time, I was working in the back most of the time, and they made it to where all the business had to come through a dangerous back alley. So they ordered everything off in the front, and my customers were scared to even bring their cars back there, and they just happened to know me well from all those years. I've ran my business there for 16 years. That neighborhood was a beautiful neighborhood. It had changed. It wasn't the same. People from the hospitals were coming to eat in the shop over there, get their cars clean, lawyers, doctors, everything. Now, keep in mind, a lot of my support through my business are white people.
Right.
I can count on my finger, 9 black people have came to shop with me in 16 years. Now, you think about that.
No, I don't. I believe it. We don't support. We don't support each other for nothing, for nada, nothing, right? And that's the truth. I mean, let's be real about this thing. And it's coming to show that everything that we're talking about and saying, I mean, we're just shedding a light on it.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing right now. Because, like I said, if the only time we're gonna get together is go after Netflix and Target, we got a problem in the community.
Yeah.
Period. Point blank. You can say what you want. If the only time we're gonna come together in the community is to release balloons instead of fighting the reason why we're releasing the balloons, we've got a problem in the community.
Huge problem.
They did eminent domain. I want to tell you something that's really shocking. Super America Speedway, they have 3,900 locations across the globe. They're a Fortune 500 company. They sued the city 2 years after George Floyd's death. The city of Minneapolis did eminent domain, rerouted their employees to other stores because they said, foul, we lost business. Our stores got ramshacked. They found 3 dead bodies in that store that they never did report. Now, when they did eminent domain with them, they're basically telling our businesses, so what? You guys didn't lose nothing. We're right across the street from Super America. So you're saying we didn't lose business as well? I have a hard time believing it. And then they go, well, we opened up the street a year. You guys should have bounced back. How do you determine that? You don't own our business to determine if we're going to bounce back or not. So it's a lot of stuff in our case that a jury has to decide. They're deciding this for themselves, Brother Don and Brother Tim and Brother T, Scott. They're throwing the cases out on assumption and opinion. But let's stick to what the law says, because that case has already been seen in Supreme Court. It's already been precedent already in the Supreme Court. And they know that. So why are you giving us a hard time when you know the businesses need aid? We're not asking for a fictitious number. We're asking for the revenues that we can prove that we lost.
Right.
But
and what would you estimate that?
Who are the people that they look to keep commandeering the area? I mean, why are they letting these people stay there? I guess one, because of course you don't have any police.
They're worried about a riot breaking out if they don't allow them to stay there.
So they have actually taken over the area. They run that. They run it, don't they?
As long as they can keep out giving grants, the city, the people and the mayor and all the people who are in the politicians, as long as they can keep on handing out those grants, that means they can get money. Because see, the scam is to give out the grants to the people we know of
Here we go.
Back. That's why they're not doing nothing about it.
There we go.
A visiting place and a memorial so that the city can make back that $111 million that they paid out on George Floyd claims. Like, do you know they paid out money for people just seeing George Floyd killed?
I saw that.
I know that.
I saw that. Just standing there.
I saw it on the video.
But also, the
I didn't get
settlement
done.
was supposed to give $500,000 to the. Wasn't it supposed to give out of the settlement from the George Floyd thing? They were supposed to give $500,000. Now I don't know if it's supposed to come from George Floyd's family's pocket or the city's pocket, but $500,000 was supposed to go right away to those businesses. So what happened to that?
I want to explain that to you. Okay, George Floyd's family went to Jeff Storm. Jeff Storm was the lawyer, and it wasn't that other guy. He doesn't have a license. Ben Crump.
Ben Crump, yeah. He don't have a license.
He doesn't have a license in the state of Minnesota to practice law. He was just an advocate on the case. Jeff Storm presented that case, and this is what they did. The George Floyd family gave $500 million to a law firm to distribute the money for the people at the businesses at George Floyd Square. Even that money got taken.
Where did it go?
They falsified applications to get it. No one checked. No one looked. So
it went to a comedy store. It went to a comedy store in New Brighton.
And you know what? That's basically. And if you look at the New York Post,
nobody talks about that. They put that in the paper. Okay, so we as a people of community should know where that money went, who got it, and what they're doing with it.
Well, guess what? I was there when the people were there. There were 72 Caucasians there from different parts of the city, not George Floyd Square, trying to get that money.
Finally.
They took that money. I was there. Okay, you know, and you can't make this up because I was there and I saw them asking for this money.
For what? They're not in the area.
Doesn't mean anything. Didn't matter.
Who makes these damn decisions? We have to get to the bottom of that.
You know,
is that Fry? Is that Walls?
That's Fry. Yeah, that's Walls. They thought this money was going to go on forever. That's what the thing about this is. What we got to understand is this was a money pit. Like, it was going to go on forever. Everybody was getting paid. Like I said, the people who are running, the people who have that area held hostage right now have made millions.
You know, when the fraud
you name them, they have made millions off of holding that place hostage. If I was the mayor, I would say kiss all the brown spots. I would get a dump truck. I would get workers, shovels. That place would be spot clean today.
Yep.
I don't understand how Agape got a building. Make me understand how they got a building.
I'm gonna tell you how they got a building. And I Rise movement. Marsha Howard is involved with I Rise. I Rise was paying protesters to go protest during the ICE. That's how Renee Good got killed. She was being paid by I Rise.
It's always, I feel like we don't never, because that money never went. A lot of it never went to the community or where it was supposed to go. And that's one thing that I can never understand is like, how do we as a community say that we care? And that's not the way that it has been perceived or even has gone. It's crazy to me. I am going to do a deep dive through those funds and like what that people have gotten. So be prepared for that. And I'm also going to talk about the Minnesota legislative midterms, right? Everybody's up for election. This weekend is conventions for the DFL and the Republican. DFL is in Rochester. GOP is in Duluth. So I'll be talking about that tomorrow. So get informed, be aware of what's going on. Doesn't matter if it's local, state, but if it's really local, should get involved. You should be a part. You should be a delegate. You should be an election judge. Whatever we can do to be a part of politics and be a part of change, we should be. That's just the truth, and that's just the way that it is. So I'll see y'all tomorrow, same time, same place. Wish me well. Deuce out. Here goes Don Tripp, Eddie Valero, Real Friends. And I'll see y'all tomorrow, same time, same place.
Damn, Justin.
All money ain't good money. Good news is it still spin. Ulysses Grant and Ben Franklin, I call them my real friends. Big faces like Lil' Kim. Money dirty as a pig pen. I woke up and I'm still free. To a real nigga, that's a win-win. Button up like a church shirt, put the black box on the gin. Fully hanging at the fin. Young niggas, they spin. New set cost a bill 10. Truckload, get them wheeled in. Price shopping, need 8 more, throw some lows in it, get it filled in. And the Carmen got the switch built in. Too late to start.